Why don't you jump in? I'll just tell you quickly, Chris Buck is a celebrity photographer, but what he likes to do is take serious pictures of pop personalities. Make yourself comfortable.
Thank you. So, as you said, I'm a photographer. And first of all, I want to say that most of the people I've seen have been cheating. I was told not to talk about work. Everyone's coming up here talking about work. So, well, I am kind of cheating in that, okay, you can start. I'm showing some pictures I've done. That's kind of my little safety net. But otherwise, can you go back to the beginning, please? Otherwise, I'm just going to talk about something other than work because, everyone's talking about work and, we're just fixing this right now. So, next. I'm going to talk about, I'm a photographer. I photograph for magazines. I do some advertising photography as well. And as anyone who's tried to be successful, I spend all my time working. I'm focusing, I'm trying to get my career better or whatever. I'm working on each job I'm doing. But I don't feel like that's who I am. I'm not Chris Buck, the photographer. I'm just Chris Buck. I have all these different hobbies, different things I do, things that interest me in my imagination as well as just in hobbies and such. So I want to talk about vacations and I think vacations are really important. I think certainly for creative people and even people who aren't creative, what you do with your free time, actually making free time, is really, really crucial. I would say, I'd say what I do in my work is maybe about 25% of me. I spend about 95% of my time, literally, aside from sleeping, but that's even kind of working too. Aside from sleeping, I spend about 95% of my time actually working, whether I'm promoting myself or, thinking about jobs or actually doing jobs or working on my website or whatever. So and lately, for example, I've been trying to make real time to just hang out and do nothing. One thing I've noticed recently when, particularly in Los Angeles, although there's many Hasidic Jews in New York, when I go to Los Angeles, I actually see them, and Los Angeles really stands out because you're out on a Saturday and you see them walking around, and of course no one really walks around in LA, so it kind of stands out. They dress a little unusually too, but you see them, and I was with my girlfriend and we went up to a guy because I said to her, oh, he's walking because he has to because he's not allowed to drive a car today. And she's like, oh, no, that's not true. So we asked him, and he said, yes, it's true. He said, but it's also nice to take a walk. I'm like, okay. but I looked at him, and I was like, and now, after talking to that guy in particular, whenever I see, young families out in Central Park or just people, walking around, Hasidic families, I actually feel this sense of warmth like, wow, I could be doing that too. I could be having a real day off with my cell phone off and just doing nothing, like maybe just reading. It's just like a bizarre concept to me. I took my first vacation. Well, I moved to New York from Toronto in 1990. And I took my first vacation as an adult in 1993. I had a friend who was teaching in Japan. I'm just going to sit down. Do you guys mind? Okay. So my friend was teaching in Japan, and he invited me to come out to China to visit with him. And so I promised him I'd do it. I'd always wanted to go to China. I think maybe it's a particular Canadian thing. There's this special relationship with China we have. And so I was really interested in going there. So we went, and we met in Beijing, and it was my first real vacation. And, I thought it'd be fun and everything, but I learned certain things from it. Like, the main thing really, I realized after about maybe 3 days, when I finally kind of calmed down, I realized that I actually have a life. I have a life outside of my work. And of course I always knew it, but then I actually began to feel it. And I kind of realized how much of a life I don't have back in New York, how much I spent all my time working or focusing towards work. And then at that point I actually began to think, okay, well, I really want to actually making efforts to spend time with my friends, or maybe I should get a girlfriend, just different things that I could do with myself. But one thing that we did, I kept saying to my friend, his name was Dave McMullen, I kept saying to Dave, I really want to get with the people. I want to be with the people. I don't want to be doing a tourist thing specifically. I mean, it was fun, but I wanted to do particular things with people, get down there, down with the people. It was always the same. So we took a train, and we took a train to this town called Qingdao, which is the one the beer is named for, which used to be a German settlement, and that's why they brew beer there. So we took a train there, and I did the foolish thing of eating food like from someone selling onto the train, and I got violently ill. And I went to the bathroom, excuse me. So I went to the bathroom, I was just throwing up all over the place, and the toilet was one of those little ones with like a little hole in the floor, and it was, and when you're sick, you don't really care, and then, so we arrived in Qingdao and got off the train, and there was no real train station. It was really just, maybe they were in the middle of building one or something, but it was just really just kind of an open field. The train stops, you get out, and there's a field. And there was lots of families sitting around, waiting for friends or family, or maybe they're waiting for a particular train. So Dave said, I feel funny leaving you alone. Are you going to be okay? And I was like, yeah, it's fine. You go ahead and go find us a hotel, and I'll just sit here and wait. Just come back here. I'll be here. So he's like, okay. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. So he goes. And of course, at this point, I'm throwing up about every 3 minutes, just like on schedule. And so I sit down in the grass, little families around me and stuff. And so I just, every few minutes, I just sort of, and they kind of move away a little bit. And eventually, maybe after about 3 or 4 barfings, a young policeman came over to me, and he said, well, I don't know what he said actually, but he pulled me away. I guess maybe someone came along who could speak some English, and he said, oh, he's going to take you somewhere better for you. And clearly it was like, we don't want a guy throwing up in the middle of the street, but they took me away, and I was like, no, I have to stay. My friend's coming back. He's getting us a hotel and everything. And then I was like, oh, excuse me a second. And by this point, there was a small crowd of people around, like, let's see the Westerner barfing sort of thing. And the guy who could speak English, he was helping me translate and everything, and they're like, no, it's okay. They're going to take you to the police station, and we'll work out. And so I guess we figured out that we left someone there who was holding a note, was saying, please, David McMullen, and then, it explained something in Chinese, I guess, at the bottom. And thankfully, Dave knew some Chinese, so they took me to the police station, and they take me to this room, and it's me and I guess a couple of the policemen from the office there or whatever, and I'm sitting there and the guy's smoking, and they're asking me, I don't know what they're asking me some questions, and I was like, do you have a bucket? Can we get a bucket, like, just over here? He's like, no, you use the bathroom. And I'm like, okay, well, then we have to have our meeting closer to the bathroom. And can you put out your cigarette, please? It's kind of hard when you're sick. And then, so I don't really have much recollection of this, but Dave said that when he finally got there, he walked in the police station, which you imagine, is like a big sort of bureaucratic-looking building. And he walked in, and lying in the middle of the floor was me. And they're actually moving that day, so those guys carrying couches and desks and stuff over me. And I was in that ultimate state of like, I'm really sick, I don't really care, so. But anyways, my point of that story really was that I really got with the people. But I think, certainly for me, because I am so focused on what I'm doing in my work, and it's not that I don't love my work, I absolutely do, and it's one of the reasons I can spend 95% of my time and be happy doing it. But when I get away from it, after a couple of days, my mind just sort of it's free, so it goes places that it wouldn't really have a chance to go usually. I did a hiking trip with my friend Julian, and we were hiking in Chile. And there's this park there called Torres del Paine, and it's this beautiful, huge park, and you can hike around it. It takes about like 7 to 10, 12 days to walk around this beautiful sort of tower of, these towers of rock, kind of half volcanic, half glacial created. And so we'd hike like 4 to 9 hours a day, which I learned a lesson from that is you should slow down a bit. But because we're spending just this time hiking, so my mind just, just wandering, and I find myself after a time like thinking about things that are really, really unimportant. Like I'm thinking, if I was going to make a compilation CD of my favorite songs from Genesis, what songs would I put? I'd have the early Peter Gabriel period would be about 2 CDs, and then the Phil Collins period would be 1 CD, and then, but these tracks, and then, but Landmines Down on Broadway really is a unit unto itself, and how would I get that to be consistent within, so this is the kind of things I think about, and then I go on to like, what if I was to make a documentary on Genesis, and what kind of footage would I want? And I think it's really amazing how, and it's not that it displeased me that my mind went to these sort of bizarre places. I thought that it was really, really fun, for one. It was like being sort of, it was sort of like being how it was when I was in college or before that, where I really did take on many different projects at once and just kind of played around and, just followed my imagination more. But what was interesting, something that happened to me by the end of the trip, we got back to the town we were staying in just outside the park, and just one afternoon, I went off from Julian. I went on my own and had some lunch in this cafe. And I pulled out a piece of paper, and I just started writing down ideas for pictures, ideas for the direction I wanted my work to go, and just this stuff just all poured out of me. And I did about 3 pages of things, and also, actually, I wrote up a list for a compilation tape I want to make as well about punk rock. But also, I did this list, and what's interesting for me is that from that time, I really, those ideas from that time I still feed off now, and it's kind of amazing how when you can separate yourself, just, I don't know, just the power of the imagination, when you have that kind of, when you can give yourself that free time. I think obviously people who are here really understand that because they're here because they're interested in ideas, they're really focused on driving forward and about the future and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what I want to say. Moses asked me about my scar. I have a big, nice scar on my back. That's from a heart operation when I was like about 6 weeks old. And the doctor who did the surgery on me was, I think, a famous doctor at the time, Dr. Mustard. And it would save my life. Thank you.